What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal today, man. Hope everyone has had a great Sunday. Hope you guys have all had a great weekend. You guys know what time it is, man. Time for a startup mock draft with rookies for the 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. Extremely excited to be here with you guys today and extremely excited to hop into another mock draft. So we got a full house already. We'll give this, I don't know, until 5:10 p.m. Eastern time, just to give everyone a chance to hop in here and make sure nobody gets left behind. So I'm just going to send out one last notification on Discord, and then we'll get rolling in just a couple minutes here. So thank you guys so much for hopping into another mock draft with me today. Extremely excited, like I said, to talk some fantasy football and to have some fun with everyone today. So hit that like button on the way in. Of course, if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, hop in the live chat. Let me know what's popping. Let me know how everyone is doing. So we did get a little splash of NFL news today that is somewhat fantasy relevant. The Texans have traded wide receiver Brandon Cooks to the Cowboys for a 5th round draft pick this year and a 6th round draft pick next year. So I also did read that the Texans ate some of the salary hit as well. The Cowboys don't have to pay out the entire contract. It's a pretty good overall deal for the Cowboys, but ultimately, listen, this is definitely going to make an impact for the Cowboys offense. When I'm looking at Brandon Cooks, in terms of his ADP at the moment, I don't think it's really necessarily going to rise or fall in any order. I don't really view Brandon Cooks, even though he's going from arguably the worst team in the league, arguably the worst offense in the league, to a pretty decent offense in the Dallas Cowboys, right? It just doesn't change a whole lot for me. I like Brandon Cooks at the right price, but we still have to kind of look at this roster and understand that CeeDee Lamb is still the guy. We don't really know what's going on at the tight end position. Obviously, Dalton Schultz and Dak Prescott have a great chemistry. I don't personally think Schultz is going to re-sign with the Cowboys with the young depth they already have at the tight end position. But Michael Gallup is still on this team. And don't forget about Jalen Tolbert as well, who was a player, going in the last season, had a very disappointing rookie year, but there's a lot of buzz around Tolbert going into last season. So, really been big on Brandon Cooks the last 2 or 3 years, honestly. Your wide receiver 49, 2022 last season. Your wide receiver 20 in 2021. Your wide receiver 16 in 2020. He played at least 13 games in all of those seasons. So, like I said, right value, sure, I'll draft Brandon Cooks. Am I going to go out chasing Brandon Cooks going into his 10th year in the league? No, I am not. All right, let's go ahead and kick off the draft. So make sure you guys are ready. Get your keyboards ready. Get your mouse ready. Get your phone ready. Whatever you need. We're hopping into another 2023 startup mock draft for the Dynasty Fantasy Football season. So let's do it. Draft is underway. And we'll talk a little bit more about Brandon Cooks and all that. The Texans also re-signed Laramie Tunsil. He is the highest paid tackle in the league. Brandon Cooks, the only NFL player outside of Eric Dickerson and Kiko Alonso to be traded 4 times in his career. It looks like Shane's running a little bit late. We'll give him the auto pick. Looks like he set a queue because he gets Jalen Hurts at 1.1, which will definitely make things a little bit spicy. I just realized I did not set a random order, so we're going to roll with no random order tonight. Just draft where you're from. So thank you guys so much for being here, man. Let's get into another mock draft. Let's talk some fantasy football. Time to hop into the chat. All right. Taylor, what's going on, man? We got you drafting with us. Yeah, let's go. At 1.7, what's going on with you, man? Emil, hello. J-Dubs, what's going on? Thomas, thank you guys so much for drafting today, man. Excited to be here with you guys. I'm going to go Burrow there at 1.4. Derek's in the house. What's up, man? Always great to see you in the mocks with us, man. How's everything been going for you? Hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well, man. Always appreciate you stopping by. Jay Speezy's in the building. What's up, man? We got Hus. What's going on, man? What's up, 420? Fancy Hustler. What's going on, man? Appreciate you stopping by, saying what's up. Always good to have you in the house, my dude. Everyone say what's up to Hus. Taylor says CD to the moon. Yeah, so, you know, anytime you have an absolute stud at position like the wide receiver position, right? And that same team gains, you know, another receiver, whether that receiver you think is going to step into the wide receiver 1 role like Tyreek Hill did last season for the Dolphins next to Jalen Waddle, or vice versa, where you have a player like Brandon Cooks who's going to be in a 2-3 role with CeeDee Lamb, the obvious wide receiver 1. There's a lot of, you know, hesitancy sometimes around, you know, sometimes either receiver, but a lot of times, like you look at last season, a lot of people were a little bit timid around Jalen Waddle because of the addition of Tyreek Hill. And all offseason, I was telling you guys, you know, I believe that this is just going to open things up for Jalen Waddle. You know, you look at the Eagles last year, all offseason, I was a huge fan of Devonta Smith, right? They go out and trade for A.J. Brown during the NFL draft. A lot of people just kind of blew off Devonta Smith at that point and only looked at A.J. Brown, and I kept making the argument this is a good thing for a young receiver like Devonta Smith, just like it was a good thing for a young receiver in Jalen Waddle, right? They don't have all the defensive pressure on them. So it's not an exact comparison to what we're going to see with the Cowboys, in my opinion, because CeeDee Lamb is still going to line up as the wide receiver 1. But I just believe anytime you add good wide receivers to a unit that already has a stud wide receiver, it's only going to help that stud wide receiver and even the wide receiver too. Like, it's going to be easier for Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup to line up now because he got CD Cooks and Michael Gallup, right? So, you know, you look at the Bengals, right? Like, you don't always get a ton of production out of Tyler Boyd, but because you have Chase Higgins and Boyd lining up, it is so much tougher to defend each individual receiver. So we'll see what happens, but I agree with you, Taylor. I do think it's good for CD at the end of the day. All right, we got Boss Man Fat in the building. What's going on? Hello, hello. Oh, the stream cut out for a second. That's not good. Hope everything's good. Looks like you guys said it's good. All right, let's see. All right, appreciate you guys being in here. Tox, I'm glad you made it in time for your pick. What's up, man? Hello, hello. Derek, I'm glad to hear that the kids, family's doing well, man. Always love to hear that, my dude. Ooh, this is a tough pick right here. I want to go receiver. Let's just do it. Give me Garrett Wilson. Let's just do it. Let's see what happens, man. J-Dub says a rich number 2. Absolutely. So, J-Dub's with an interesting build today, going a little 0 quarterback action. Only team without a quarterback so far. Looks like Shane is still running a little bit late. We'll give him the auto picks. Gets JT and Eckler. Double RB stack there. So, JT falling out a little bit further back than we've seen him. Usually going closer, I mean, really anywhere from end of the first to the beginning of the second is where we're used to seeing JT land. So he's falling back a little bit. You're seeing guys like, you know, Tommy obviously going for his boy on his team right there, going with Walker, which I don't have a huge issue with. I love Breece Hall, Bijan, Walker, and JT kind of as your top tier at the position. All right, so interesting decision here, right? Do I take a young quarterback, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, both sitting here, or do I take a stud receiver in Jalen Waddle, who has a lot of youth, or a guy like Chris Olave or Devonta Smith, who I would still call studs, who hold a ton of youth? T. Higgins sitting here as well. Chris Olave is age 22, Waddle's 24. We've got Wilson. Let's just roll with Waddle for the night. Why not? It's been a while since I've drafted Waddle in either Dynasty or redraft, so we'll add him to the squad. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud will not come back to us at 4.9. There goes Bryce Young. JJ, Kyler Murray, and Bryce Young is a very good start, Tox. I absolutely love that start. I mean, you get probably the unanimous number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty at just age 23, and JJ going into his 4th season. You get Kyler Murray, who gives you a ton of upside. Once he's back and healthy, I'm not worried about Kyler. You guys know that. You guys know that, right? Age 25, then you're going to get Bryce Young, who is going into his rookie season, right? And is probably going to be a starter very early on. So I love that start for you, man. Could not have been better in my humble opinion. But a lot of other starts I really like here. Justin Herbert paired with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Chris Olave is absolutely filthy. J-Dub still going with the 0 quarterback build. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, Michael, especially if you can pick up another quarterback there, absolutely love that. Trevor Lawrence, A.J. Brown, and Barkley's pretty interesting as well. Jackson, Hall, and Stroud is pretty nice. So definitely some good starts. Justin going for the Chiefs stack with Mahomes and Kelsey, and getting a young running back in Travis Etienne. So lots of good starts all around the board. Derek sitting with Prescott and Watson, was still able to land Tyreek Hill. Obviously a little bit older, but it's still Tyreek Hill, and then he's probably going to get another nice pick here at 4.2. So let's go. I like my starter right too with Burrow, Wilson, and Waddle, but we'll see who I can land at 4.10 and 5.3. So lots of good talent still sitting on the board. I love that selection right there. Derek going Devonta Smith at 4.2, adding some youth behind Tyreek Hill. Smith just age 24, going into his 3rd season. You guys know that I absolutely love Devonta Smith, but you kind of get that veteran receiver. This is a 3-receiver roster style, 2 flexes and a super flex, tight end premium, and a lot of bench spots. So I really like, if you're going to go with a veteran, you can't pick a better, receiver than Tyreek Hill, right? And I mean like a true veteran, not really including guys like J.J. Chase, even I would say A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb, right? Diggs, Tyreek Hill, probably top of the list in terms of like true veteran players. But Devonta Smith, a beautiful selection as well. Like I said, just age 24, so that pairing I absolutely love. All right, continuing to see some running backs disappear off of the board here as we move into the 4th round. I love the value of Najee Harris right now. Goes at 4.3 tonight to J-Dubs. I think it's a really, really good value. Age 25, okay? Going into his 3rd season. I know there's a lot of panic around Najee Harris, who was your RB14 in full PPR scoring formats last season. Obviously a big fallback from being RB3 in full PPR in his rookie season. But I think when you just look at what Najee did last season, he had a consistent year, right? Gave you double digits in every game in full PPR scoring except for just 2 games. Yeah, literally. Weeks 4 and 5 finished, and week 10. So 3 games overall. And he really started to heat up towards the end of the season. Oh my gosh, I'm on the clock. Hold on a second. Oh, I was not prepared for this pick. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take Adams. I mean, Kupp is sitting there as well. But I'm going to shore up this receiver room with an absolute stud veteran in Devontae Adams. We were just talking about Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs. Adams and Kupp right up there in that same tier, to correct myself. So lots of good rookie receivers sitting here as well. But I'd definitely be happy with this start. Wilson, Waddle, Adams can take a little bit of a breather at the position now. Thomas, are we basing this draft on tight end premium? 100%, yes, yeah. So we're, anytime we're running these startup mock drafts, we're going off of our Dynasty format for our coming Dynasty league. So tight end premium, 3 receivers. I mean, super flex. Those are really the only key things you need to, kind of take in, right? And then obviously the fact that it's a Dynasty league, of course. So, yeah, absolutely. I would consider this a tight end premium draft, 100%. All right, so Shane will get another auto pick here. Go, giving Shane 4 running backs. That's okay. All right, so looking at the board here as we move into the 5th round, I don't think I can really get away here without going quarterback. I just don't know who will come back to me at 6.9. There's a ton of good running back value on the board at the moment. I mean, even guys like Derrick Henry are still floating around. Lots of good receivers that I really like sitting here as well. But I just think we can't not go quarterback here. So let's scoop up Tua time. Second night in a row I've drafted Tua. I don't mind Tua at the moment. Age 25, going into his 4th season. Obviously, the Dolphins believe in Tua, and right in this scenario, I'm locking up the Tua to Waddle connection, which is huge, right? I mean, obviously, these two guys have had chemistry for a very long time, and that has bled through into the NFL. So I love that, right? I know this isn't best ball or anything, but in Dynasty, shoring up a long-term stack. I mean, I don't know if there's a better, probably Burrow and Chase is probably the best example, but I would say Tua and Waddle is probably the next best example. Hurts and Smith / Brown is probably pretty close too. But like I said, right, just being able to shore up that connection for as long as you possibly can is definitely going to hold a lot of merit. So absolutely love that selection. Tua fell back a little bit. I mean, a lot of mocks we've seen Tua go before Kirk Cousins, which Emil took at 5.2, and even sometimes before guys like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, even Anthony Richardson, but not always, right? Tua is kind of an interesting player to look at in terms of ADP, but I absolutely love that selection. Feel really good about it. Listen, I know that there's concussions and et cetera, but I believe Tua is going to be fine, and Dolphins exercising his 5th-year option definitely gives me a little bit of confidence as well. All right, 5th round, wrapping up into the 6th round we go. Derek, I love the selection of George Pickens right here at 5.11. You guys know I'm really big on Pickens at the end of the day. It wasn't a perfect rookie season by any means, but a lot to be optimistic about. 52 receptions off 84 targets, 801 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns for Pickens in his rookie season. I think that Pickett and Pickens together will take a step forward in their sophomore season. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect season for Pickens in his rookie year, but I still think it was a very, very good season. Made a lot of contested catches. It's just a good football player. Had some bad games too, don't get me wrong. Didn't play well against the Ravens specifically, but I think he'll be just fine. I love that selection behind Hill and Smith. And I really like the selection of Zach Charbonnet as your RB1 at 6.2. You guys know that I'm very big on Charbonnet overall coming out of this rookie class. I think he's one of the better values at the moment. All right, so there goes Derrick Henry at 6.5, as well as DJ Moore at 6.4. 2 really good veteran values falling right there. So J-Dubs goes 0 quarterback today, gets Chase, Bijan, Metcalf, and Harris, and still lands Danny Dimes and Kenny Pickett. I absolutely love that start. Was a little worried watching J-Dubs go 0 quarterback. Really no other team, maybe outside of Tommy, who's just got 1 quarterback off the board, but no other team who went with a true 0 quarterback build. And of course, Michael has to take my player. I'm just kidding. Quentin Johnston's a beautiful selection there. So I am going to... I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't realize Goff got taken off the board. It's a great pick at 6.6. I'm not ready for this pick. Let's just go Quentin Johnston, rookie receiver that I believe in. And we'll see who may or may not fall out to us in the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th round at quarterback. I was hoping Pickett or Goff would fall out here. I'm not too upset about it. I believe in Burrow with Tua. I think it's a great duo. But I would feel really good about the quarterback position if I was able to land Goff or Pickett here in the 6th round. But like I said, not surprised at all. I mean, Taylor with just, Goff as his second quarterback, then J-Dubs with Pickett as his second quarterback, was kind of pushing the luck, right? If Christian Kirk had fell to me at 6.9, I would have been ecstatic. You guys know that Christian Kirk is a player I've been going after pretty heavily. But a good pick by Michael nonetheless at 6.8. Some really good starts for you guys here tonight. All right, so Shane, we miss you tonight. Oh my gosh. I'm making an executive decision. We're gonna give him a receiver there, and then we're just gonna give him what's the first we're going to give him Trey Lance. First two players available on the board who weren't a running back, because we're not going to go into this with an auto selection of just 5-6 running backs in a row. So I'm sorry if you guys wanted Burks or Lance, but I would think you guys would agree it's a little bit more fair than like 6 or 7 running backs going off the board in a row. So let's move into the 7th round. Some really good veteran receiver value for Emil. Hopefully you're able to hit on some younger receivers later in this draft, but nonetheless, Godwin and Hopkins, can't really complain about that. All right, let's take a look here. Ooh, there's 2 or 3 players I'm kind of considering snagging up right here. It's tight end premium. Let's go Goddard. Let's go Goddard. There's so many good players available at the moment. Chase is in the house. What's up, bro? What's going on, man? Always great to see you. Afternoon to you. Thomas, he sniped Pickens. Is about to go Pickens back to back. Yeah, that would be Pickett to Pickens would be really, really nice. Okay, so we talked about, I'm not gonna say Pickett to Pickens is on. Say that 5 times fast, by the way. I'm not gonna say they're on the same tier, or maybe even close to Burrow, Chase, of course, but even Tua and Waddle. We talked about earlier, do they have that potential? I think they're probably pretty close. I don't know if we're going to see another connection like Burrow and Chase in the league for a while. I mean, just 2 teammates who've been together for so long. And don't get me wrong, Tua and Waddle the same way, but I just feel like with Burrow and Chase, it's just something special, right? But Mahomes and Kelsey pretty close. But I think 6.3 is not too unrealistic to say the least, right? And then we have George Pickens going at 5.11. I think that's pretty realistic. In between Judy, Addison, and DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Christian Kirk right after him as well. Pickens, I think anywhere from the end of the 5th, middle of the 6th round, right? Like if one of you guys went out and picked Kirk, Pittman, DJ Moore, Jordan Addison before Pickens, would I be surprised? No. If you guys picked Pickens before those players, like what we see tonight, am I surprised? No, not at all. So, definitely think, looking forward, in terms of potential for a quarterback receiver stack that can hold a ton of momentum for a long time. Pickett to Pickens absolutely has it. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and set that up. Where is... Damn, they really have Allen Lazard super far down. Yeah, looks like Tommy had a delay there, so we'll change up. I was interested, or kind of thought it was interesting that Mike White went off the board there, so we'll hook you up there. Yeah, Rodgers to Lazard. I'm all for it, man. All right, where do I want to go here? Man, ooh. How did Pacheco last that long? I would have loved... I mean, you guys probably know that I would have loved to lock up Pacheco right there, but that's okay. It's a great pick by Michael. Man, Javonte Williams just falling further and further back. I feel like I have to go running back here. Let's just take A.J. Dillon. I still love Dillon in Dynasty. I really do, right? Age 24, going to his 4th season. I get it. Aaron Jones still there, but I just like A.J. Dillon. You guys know that, right? And part of what I do when I am building my Dynasty squads is like, if I have conviction in a player long term, then I'm going to take them. I think Monty's a great pick at 8.11 as well. Little surprised that he fell out that far. But at the same time, not too entirely surprised. We've seen his ADP be kind of all over the place since he, got drafted to the Lions and everything. But, traded to the Lions. Nonetheless, still think he's a pretty good pick there. Oh, man. I'm in an interesting place here. Brian Robinson off the board. There's just some good running back value sitting here. I think there's good receiver value as well. But we're kind of in a good spot at receiver. It's just, when you have those 2 flex spots outside of the super flex spot, and you're already playing 3 receivers, like long term, right? The value of the wide receiver position just can't be understated. I'm going to go Tyler Lockett here because I know you guys, and I know you're not going to let him fall out to 9.4, or excuse me, to 10.9. But I also really like Mike Williams sitting here, Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt. There's some good players at the position here. Like I said, you guys know that I've been going pretty light at the running back position in a lot of these startup mock drafts. And I'm sitting pretty light again. I would have felt better with Pacheco over A.J. Dillon. I was interested to see if Montgomery or Brian Robinson fell out to 9.4. If either of those guys were there, I absolutely would have taken either of those running backs. But like I said, Lockett or Mike Williams, just looking at the available players, are the players that I like the most available on the board. Javonte Williams sitting there at both 8.9 and 9.4. Very, very interesting as well. Listen, I own Javonte Williams in his rookie season in my keeper league. I kept him last year just because it was really the best value out of anyone I drafted in terms of a keeper spot, right? But I'm just having trust issues with Javonte Williams at the moment. A lot of back and forth reporting in terms of his availability, right? Some reports saying he'll be ready for training camp, some saying it's going to be a month or two into the season, and now reports as of 20 days ago saying that he's on track to be ready for the start of the season. So I just don't know if I trust Javonte Williams. And on top of that, even with a head coach change, a change to a great head coach as well, I just don't know if I'm ready to trust the Broncos backfield, because it just feels like year after year they implement more than one running back in whatever system is there. Like, we've seen more than one head coach. It feels like since John Elway has stepped into the building, we've just seen a multitude of running backs take over, right? So, and now you've got Samaje Perine signed, and I won't be surprised. This is a very deep draft class at the running back position. I just won't be surprised if the Broncos draft a running back on top of having Javonte and Samaje Perine. So don't get me wrong, guys. I think there's Javonte at 9.6 behind Sanders and Pollard for Talks is a really good value, right? Age 22. That's the other thing with Javonte going into his third season. He's very young. Very young. So even if he doesn't finish out his fifth year, sixth year with the Broncos, he's going to be able to go to another team and still have an opportunity to play, right? So there's a lot of value in Javonte Williams. I am just not personally 100% there. And especially when I'm looking at this team, don't get me wrong, A.J. Dillon is still competing for touches with Aaron Jones. But when I'm looking at this team, if I was going to go Javonte as my RB1, I just don't know if I could really trust that, right? Even A.J. Dillon's going to give me trust issues, but I feel a little bit better about Dillon over Javonte in that specific situation, if that makes sense. So, all right. Let me take a look here. I've not been paying attention to the board. Haven't built a queue once. I need to go running back. Let's just be honest. Let's just go James Cook. I need to take a running back off the board. It doesn't give me a ton of confidence just because of the way the Bills utilize the running back position. But age 23, going into the second season, I would say that's probably the best selection for me. And that at least gives me two running backs to work with at the moment. And now as we continue to fill out, I'm probably just going to be looking at rookie running backs to kind of fill things out here, and even some committee backs as well. So that's really all I can do. And that, listen, I would much rather stack up at the wide receiver position, get 2 to 3 quarterbacks that I believe in, and get a tight end that I believe in as well before selecting running backs in these startup mock drafts. It's just where I'm at this given time. So see what happens, but I think that overall this is a good start for this team. I mean, there's still a lot of really good receiver value. Tight ends and quarterbacks are starting to wear a little bit thin, but ultimately I think we're in a pretty good position for this build. I was interested to see how far back Cole Kmet would fall. Once again, J-Dub sitting back and being patient is really paying off for him. Cole Kmet, even with the signing of Robert Tonyan, is a tight end that I have a lot of faith in Dynasty formats as well. Age 24, going into his 4th season, obviously tied to Justin Fields. I just am a big fan of Cole Kmet in full PPR. You know, if it's outside of full PPR, it makes me a little bit queasy, but I know majority of us, majority of people out there playing in full PPR. Don't get me wrong, right? Kmet's not perfect, didn't have a perfect season by any means, but in a tight end premium league, finishing as your tight end 7 last year, I got a lot of faith in Kmet. And you also have to understand, right? Like, if you're not getting an absolute stud tight end, it's not going to be perfect. It's not always going to be pretty, right? All right, Darren Waller sitting here is pretty intriguing. James Conner is available as well, which would be kind of a nice piece to add to this team. Not going to lie, it's like the first time I've been crossed with potentially selecting James Conner. Let's just do it. Just do it. Mac and cheese was kind of interesting there, considering I still don't have a 3rd quarterback, but we need some running back help. I don't think it hurts us to take a veteran here. We're going to be able to land some rookies at the position late in this draft. The one thing I need to do right now is I need to set up a little bit of a queue as Sam Howell goes to talks. There goes your late rounder. Because I have not made a queue this entire mock, and I think I've drafted okay without one, but you know, it does make me a little bit more comfortable. Ezekiel Elliott still hanging around. At this point, like if Zeke comes back at 12.9 or 13.4, I would consider taking Zeke, but that's just because of the specific situation that my team is in, right? All right, so a couple more tight ends off the board here. Njoku, Darren Waller, and Dalton Kincaid. Lots of good value there. Some interesting receivers still hanging around. Gabe Davis hasn't necessarily been a player that people are staying away from, even in Dynasty, right? Age 23, going into his 4th season, still tied to Josh Allen. As you start to get into those later rounds of mock drafts, you're still seeing, you know, Gabe Davis be a high commodity, right? So he's still sitting available at the moment. Lots of good receiver value hanging around as well. And that is the one thing, right? Like, I do believe in stacking up at the wide receiver position early in your startup mock drafts, but there's always going to be some sort of value in later points of mocks, right? So I'm sitting here with Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, Quentin Johnston, and Tyler Lockett, and I'm ecstatic about that, right? I've got a receiver to play in the flex. I've got a rookie receiver that I can flex if I need to, or not if I want to throw a running back or even a potential tight end in there. I've got my super flex quarterback locked up, and then my core receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, feel really good about that. So when I picked James Conner at 11.4, it was Conner or Kenneth Gainwell. I knew that I probably wasn't going to get Kenneth Gainwell falling back out at 12.9 because Bossman Fat is drafting today and he likes Kenneth Gainwell as much as I do, but I knew there was a small chance. So if I could have landed Gainwell at 12.9, I would be ecstatic right now. But I'm going to take who I believe is the best tight end off the board in Greg Dulcich, at least the tight end with the most upside and the youngest tight end, right? Age 22, going into a system now under Sean Payton, who loves to use the tight end, right? But Dawson Knox sitting here at age 26, I don't necessarily dislike going into his 5th season, obviously tied to the hip of Josh Allen. So Jimmy Garoppolo, I was hoping would fall out here, but only having one tight end, I did feel like that was a positional need. So we'll see what happens. But by the way, what's going on, Bobby? Appreciate you coming through tonight. What's up, man? Hello, hello. So now I'm at an interesting point, right? I could really go any direction. It's funny because, of course, Ezekiel Elliott is sitting available here. I am probably going to go running back here. A lot of good players available, though. A lot of good, really good players sitting here, actually. This might surprise you guys, but I'm going to go Antonio Gibson here. I still believe that he holds some sort of value. Age 24, going into his 4th season. Is he always going to be consistent? No. But Washington does like to implement more than one running back. And honestly, my hope is that Gibson, after his 4th year in the season, goes to another team that'll utilize him a little bit better. Or, actually, I really don't think that Gibson's been utilized that poorly. Right, your RB13 2020, RB12 in 2021. Took a step back last year as your RB27, played 15 total games, did not play the last 2 games of the season. Had enough double-digit games to give me some faith. Like I said, just a young running back. Got to take some sort of value here as I'm hurting at the position. Did not land my boy Kenneth Gainwell. But honestly, A.J. Dillon, James Cook, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, if I can polish things out at the end of this mock with some rookie running backs, I'll feel pretty much okay at the position, right? I'm not putting a ton of value on the running back position in these dynasty mocks because the position just flip-flops so consistently, right? So I want the receivers. I want good tight end value. And I know it doesn't necessarily show tonight, but I want 3 to 4 quarterbacks on my roster before I'm even worried about potential, starting running back, which I know sounds crazy, but I just mean like an absolute stud running back. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a point where I'm not passing on Eckler. I'm not passing on CMC. I'm not passing on Etienne or Barkley, even Jacobs or Najee Harris. Like, Dameon Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco. Like, there are a lot of names at the running back position that I really, really like. Tyler Algier being another one. So it just depends on the value that you're drafting those specific players, All right, here we go, guys. Into the 14th round. Flying through tonight's draft. There goes some of the Giants receivers, Randall Robinson as well as Isaiah Hodgins. So some good value there, in my opinion. Absolutely love both of those players and their current ADP. There goes John Mechie. So that's something we didn't touch on at the beginning of the stream when we talked about the Brandon Cooks, situation, him getting traded, right? So when we look at this Houston Texans roster at the moment, there's some good value. And at the end of the day, right, somebody's got to catch footballs for the Houston Texans. I don't know who's going to be throwing the football. Could be Bryce Young, could be CJ Stroud, Richardson, could be a veteran quarterback who comes in. Let me make this draft pick very quickly. But I do think that there's good value when we're looking at the Texans receivers. And I think from a dynasty standpoint, right, let me check out my queue very quickly here. I'm going to go Alec Pierce here. From a dynasty standpoint, John Mechie being super young, obviously did not play last season, but 22 years old going into second year, I think Mechie's a pretty good pick overall, when we're looking at the 14th round of startup mock drafts for sure. All right, Thomas has took Mike White after all. Good late grab as my 3rd QB behind Rodgers and Richardson. If Tua goes down, yeah, probably would have been a good decision for me to potentially consider him, right? Maybe that could be a potential move in Superflex leagues if you do draft Tua time, right? All right, I'm going to go Zay Jones here, and that'll probably do it at the wide receiver position for me. Garrett Wilson, Waddle, Devontae Adams, Quentin Johnston. So I did get a rookie sprinkled in there on top of having 2 younger guys, Wilson and Waddle. Tyler Lockett, Alec Pierce, Zay Jones. That gives us 7 receivers. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to pass up value towards the end of the draft if the best available value is at the wide receiver position, but I feel pretty good about that wide receiver room at the end of the day. And there goes Nico Collins, continuing to talk about some of these young Houston Texans receivers. Nico Collins had some pretty good games before he got hurt last year. Between weeks 4 and weeks 13, he gave you double digits in every game he played in except for 2, but obviously the nagging injuries is a little bit concerning. Romeo Dobbs is really interesting. Goes at 15.10 here to J-Dubs. Going into the second season, listen, I'd be interested. I'm actually going to try and figure this out because I don't know off the top of my head. So Jordan Love played week 12 against Philly, right? And then, of course, Dobbs was out that week. Okay. I'd be interested to see if some chemistry develops between Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs. Because, when we're looking at a dynasty league, right, like I think Doubs could hold a ton of value. Just because, listen, Christian Watson is the presumed number one receiver for the Packers, but I do think that Doubs could hold some pretty good value there as well. Like I said, right, Rodgers had that chemistry towards the mid to end of the season with Christian Watson, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I still think Watson's a guy, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't mean that chemistry between Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs can't develop, right? All right, there are all kinds of values still sitting on the board here. So we've got 3 more selections. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Kate Otton's a really good pick there. Really, really good pick. I'm going to take Deuce Vaughn off the board. And, man, Baker's gone. I thought Baker was still available. I don't think there's any... I mean, who would you guys draft, right? Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, Max Duggan, Stetson Bennett, Tanner McKee, Sam Darnold. I mean, maybe Darnold, but probably not, right? I don't know. That's still kind of... I don't know. I don't like that position at all. I just don't know if there's any reason to draft another quarterback in this draft now that Baker's gone. It's like crazy that I'm even putting that much like value in Baker, but I do think at the end of drafts Baker is a good value in a super flex league, like just to give you some depth, right? I mean, I guess Malik Willis, who just goes at 17.3, is the best available player on the board, but at the quarterback position, that is. But I just can't do it. I can't. I'm just going to take a second rookie running back in a row here. And that, I think, gives us a pretty good, all things considered, going pretty late round at the running back position, a pretty good backfield. A.J. Dillon, James Cook, Connor, Gibson, Vaughn, and Israel A. So I think we're sitting at a pretty good spot, actually. All right, let's see. Zach, what's going on, my dude? Where should Khalil Herbert go and start 11-10 team super or startup 10-team Superflex startups now that Donta Foreman is in Chicago? I've also seen the Bears have the 8th best odds to draft Bijan. He's available at the 14.6. So it's an interesting question, Zach, and I think to answer it honestly, we're probably going to have to sit back and see if the Bears do draft another running back, which I think is very possible. It's just really, I think it's possible for any team. This is just such a deep draft class at the running back position. It just would not surprise me. But I definitely think Chicago, with what they're kind of building in terms of that offense, is in line to draft another running back. To answer your question, like Herbert went at 11.5 tonight, right? So that puts him in between Mixon, Penny, Dobbins, Ackney, Cook, Connor, and Addison Tucker, Gainwell, Spears. I think that's a pretty good spot for Khalil Herbert, but he's going to bring you a lot of good upside, right? Full PPR scored in formats. I like where Herbert is at, but he's probably going to go pretty late. I think he's a great value right now, Zach. That ADP could drop a little bit potentially if the Bears do draft another running back. We'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, I think he's at a pretty good ADP overall and brings a great value. So, but I agree, man. I think that there's a good chance. I don't know if the Bears are going to go for Bijan specifically, but I do think that they'll come out of this draft with another running back. Just they're going to continue to try and add young pieces to that Bears offense, undoubtedly. Let's see. Nope. Bev, Greg, what's going on, my dude? What's y'all's opinion on Kyle Pitts? Let me make this selection very quickly. Oh man, I just don't think I'm going to draft another quarterback. I mean, Bailey Zappi is kind of interesting. Taylor Heineke, Ryan Tannehill, Bennett, Duggan, McKee. But I think I'm going to finish this thing out with another tight end. I think I'm going to go Noah Fant here. I got 2 quarterbacks that might be making a trade. All right. What's your opinions on Kyle Pitts? I feel like despite him being young, his last season was not good at all. Do you believe he still has the potential? I mean, athletically, he absolutely has the potential, Greg. Do I love Kyle Pitts? No, I'm kind of on record of not being a huge fan of Kyle Pitts. In redraft, like last offseason, I was really against Kyle Pitts. I just thought his ADP was not favorable, and that turned out to be true. But in Dynasty, it's a completely different scenario. Listen, at the end of the day, right, Kyle Pitts was your tight end 6 his rookie season in full PPR. He's age 22. He's going into his 3rd season, obviously coming off of a knee injury, but he should be good to go to start the season. So Kyle Pitts is a really interesting player at the moment. Has only scored 3 touchdowns in his career, so you had to be in full PPR to really even consider him, in my opinion. But 90% of you guys, 95% of you guys, especially if you're playing in a Dynasty League, are playing in full PPR anyways. So to answer your question, I do believe he has the potential still, 100%. The bigger issue, there's 2 bigger issues, right? The first issue is that the Falcons did not utilize his skill set at all, is what it felt like last season. And on top of that, the Falcons don't have a trustworthy quarterback, right? Last season we saw Mariota and Desmond Ridder out there. I mean, they got Taylor Heineke behind Ridder now, but Ridder's going to be the starter going into the season unless the Falcons do something crazy and draft a quarterback. I mean, they have a pretty early pick. It's not out of the question. They could trade up, right? So, you know, if that scenario happens, I have a lot more optimism around Kyle Pitts. But what I'm always looking at is value at the tight end position. Kyle Pitts is probably going to be your 2nd tight end, maybe your 3rd off of the board. Every now and then your 4th. You might see Hawkinson and Andrews behind Pitts, but in most Dynasty startups, he's going to be the 2nd or 3rd tight end off the board. And even in some leagues, he's going to be the 1st tight end. It's not that out of the question for him to go before Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Andrews, right? Depends on who you're drafting with. There are plenty of leagues where Pitts will go as the 1st tight end off of the board. So when I'm looking at it, I'd rather draft Goddard or Freiermuth in the 7th. I'd rather draft Ingram in the 8th and then get a guy like Komet and Njoku, Dulcich in a later round and pair them with a Bellinger or Cade Otton at the end of a draft, or even a Dalton Kincaid, Washington, Trey McBride, any of those guys. Like, I just think there's better value and better ways to build your roster than drafting Kyle Pitts super early. So that would be my take. If he's already on your team, I think it's okay to see what value you can get, but you're not going to get the best possible value if you trade Kyle Pitts right now, because he's coming off an injury. He's coming off a very bad season as well. So if you own Kyle Pitts, I do think that the best thing to do right now is just to hold on to him. All right, let me know if you want me to take a look at your squad. Looks like we got a couple of you guys with your hands up already. So let me take a sip of water and we'll take a look at a couple teams. All right, boss man, what we do today, other than snipe Kenneth Gainwell from me. Just kidding. Field, Smith, Purdy. Love that quarterback room. I'd be good with it 100%. Yep. You'd probably be making a move for another young quarterback soon, just with Geno being age 32. I know Purdy's young, but I think we're all kind of in limbo around the elbow injury at the moment. So, but overall, right, you got Purdy at age 23, you got Fields at age 24. You're in a good position right now with Geno as kind of a placeholder too. So, Pitts and McBride, I'm okay with that. Completely okay with that, the tight end position. Could have gone for a 3rd tight end here, but I'm not completely against it. Lamb, Judy, Moore, Dotson, Rondo Moore, and Elijah Moore. I feel like this is the 2nd draft where you've drafted all 3 of those guys. But the Moore squads, and I think Rasheed Rice is a really, really good value there at 16.4. Great receiver room. Love the receiver room, man. Jacobs, Algier, Gainwell, Pierre Strong, who's been here in a draft guy. McIntosh and Mitchell are really good values, especially McIntosh. I really like him coming on Georgia. So, yeah, this is a good squad. How do you feel about it, man? I think you've got good pieces at every position, youthful pieces, a good blend of veterans in here as well. It's a good little squad. How do you feel about it, man? All right, Derek, what we do today, my dude? Prescott, Watson, staph infection, and the brisket. I'm okay with that. Prescott's not an awful pick, right? At age 29, he is a little bit up there. And just don't forget, Watson is age 27. So, staph infection, brisket, give you a little bit of value because it is a super flex format. And at the end of the day, you're going to need placeholders. It's just how it works. So, the only note there is maybe try and get, even if it's Will Levis, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, even if it's Mac Jones for crying out loud, just get somebody who's a little bit more youthful sprinkled in there. But you can't go win now at certain positions and then add youthful players at positions as time goes on as well. Darren Waller and Jawan Johnson. Once again, I would look for one more young player at the position. Daniel Bellinger, Cade Otton, a rookie tight end, even a Dawson Knox. He's not that much younger. That's Foreman, but only 1 year younger than Jawan Johnson. But just the age is one thing, but even Waller, just the inconsistency with injuries, just something to consider, right? Because tight end's going to hold a lot of value in these tight end premium leagues. All right, Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Jacoby Myers, Odell Beckham, a good receiver room. Once again, maybe at the end of the draft, you just sprinkle in one rookie here or someone in the second year, but ultimately, right? Lots of good value here. Now, if we're looking at Evans and Keenan Allen on the same team, that might be the point where maybe I take a rookie or a second-year guy, right? Even like Mike Williams available there, age 28, compared to Keenan Allen, 2 years older, might give you a little bit of better value. But you see guys like Flowers available, right? Booty available as well. So, like, those guys might be a better selection since you already have Mike Evans, or even the opposite, right? Maybe you still take Keenan Allen at 9.11, but instead of Mike Evans, you go for a guy like Allen Lazard or Hollywood Brown, Kadarius Toney, just somebody who's going to give you a little bit more youth. But once again, you can go win now at a particular position, right? And with that being said, you still have George Pickens, you still have Devonta Smith, so you've got some youth at position, and Jacoby Myers, age 26, right? But I still love this receiver room. Just a note I would make, right? Zach Charbonnet, Cam Akers, Penny, Elliott, Foreman. I think you got really good running back value throughout this draft, right? And I don't put a ton of value on the running back position at this moment in startup mock draft. So Charbonnet leading the way with Akers, I think, is really nice. Penny, Zeke, Foreman give you some options on the bench as well. So a couple notes there, but I still think ultimately this is a good enough team, man. How do you feel about it? All right, J-Dubs, what we do today, man? You got interesting today, J-Dubs. I liked it. All right, Danny Dimes, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Baker. You didn't draft a quarterback to the 5th round, and I think things ultimately worked out really well for you. Jones going in his 5th year, age 25. Pickett going in his 2nd year, age 24. Love going into his 4th year, age 24, and Baker going into his 6th year. Gosh, Baker's old, man. Going at age 27, but still in the 16th round. It's a good pick. I love this quarterback room. I love what you were able to do. Kmet, Washington, Ferguson. You held off at tight end till the 10th round. You still got a lot of really good value at the position. Bijan, Najee Harris, Swift, Madison. A little thin at running back, but I can't really say much. Like, I've been talking about going live at running back all day long. So, you have Bijan and Najee to lead the way, and you have a little bit of depth, right? Always time for the waiver wire. Always time for trades. And then, you still have Swift at age 24 giving you the upside. I'm okay with Swift at the right value. 7.10 I'm not against. Chase, Metcalf, Hollywood, Davis, Hodgins, Romeo Dobbs, Thornton. So, I still like the receiver room. Not my favorite late round guys, but I think that Hodgins and Dobbs specifically give you a lot of good value, potential upside. And Gabe Davis and Thornton, I know Thornton's been one of your late round guys, so I'm not against that. And Gabe Davis is just that boomer bust type player, right? So still a lot of upside there as well. But yeah, ultimately an interesting draft. Didn't go quarterback to the 5th, but I think things really worked out for you. And when I look at this team, There are a lot of players that I know you have a lot of personal conviction in, so I think it's a good squad. How do you feel about it, man? All right, Taylor at 1.7. We got T-Law, Goff, Will Levis, and Ritter. Good quarterback room. Can't really knock it. I mean, you're led by T-Law. You got Goff in the Superflex. You got two young guys you can sit back and watch develop, hopefully, right? So I think you're good there. Hawkinson and Bellinger. I mean, you can always go for a third tight end. That is kind of what I'm looking to come out of a startup mock with, but you can get by with two, and I believe in both these tight ends, so I'm good at that. A.J. Brown, J-Mo, McLaurin, Deontay, Flowers, Sky Moore, and Shaheed. This is a really good wide receiver room for a Dynasty format. Yeah, tons of upside here as well, and some good kind of veteran-esque players in the 7th and 8th round to just kind of give you some stability, but Flowers in the 11th, Moore in the 14th, Shaheed in the 17th, who I'd be willing to bet J-Dubs was hoping would fall. I almost went Shaheed, but I just needed a running back and tight end more than a receiver in the 17th round, right? But you got great receiver value throughout this draft, Taylor. So running backs, Barkley, Dobbins, Spears, Mitchell, and Ibrahim. I mean, good running back value. At the end of the day, I know you really like Dobbins, so having Dobbins in the 10th round probably felt great. And you're led by Barkley with some good, two rookies. And I still really like Mitchell, age 24, going in his 3rd season. He's still going to get touches behind C-Mac. So, yeah, this is a good team. How do you feel about it, man? A lot of good value for you tonight. Let's see. House of 1.12, Derek kept sniping me. He likes to do that. He likes to do that. Richardson, Rogers, White. Brady was a joke, right? So basically Richardson, Rogers, and White. Unless I guess you think Brady is coming back for another season. I don't believe he is. Mark Andrews, Kincaid. I like the tight end room. I'm sorry, going back to quarterbacks, like Mike White is an interesting pick because, like you said, I mean, he's signed a 2-year deal with the Dolphins, and you're kind of banking on a potential injury to Tua. If that happens, then Mike White's going to step in. So it is an interesting selection, right? You're definitely leaning on Richardson here. So if you believe in Richardson, that's fine. You've got Rodgers in the super flex for now, and you got White. So the only thing I would say is, White not being an immediate starter. Looking at who was available, though, I would take Ritter or Baker before I take Mike White. If you don't want to take Malik Willis or Tannehill, I'm not going to bank you there. Gardner Minshew is another name that's going to be interesting because he's probably going to be the bridge quarterback for the Colts this year no matter what, even if they draft a rookie. The only scenario where they'd have to trade for someone or get in Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, which we've heard some buzz around, right? But Minshew, just like Baker, has a good opportunity this year to start some games. And in Superflex leagues, if all else fails, quarterback gets injured, and you have to start someone, you want players like that. So I will go with one of those guys before I'm going with Mike White, just because I don't like banking on injuries, because then, in theory it's okay, but at the end of the day, if Tua never gets hurt, then you're just kind of screwed, you know what I mean? Higgins, Addison, Lazard, Robinson, Boyd, Palmer. I mean, you went pretty light at receiver, the first 13 rounds. Came out of it with 6 receivers, and I think ultimately it's a pretty good receiver room. Higgins, Addison, and Lazard I like a lot. Robinson and Boyd and Palmer I like as well. Early running back. First person to take a running back off the board, Kenneth Walker at 1.12. That's your guy, right? I'm not going to knock it because that's your guy. That's who you want. I'm okay with it. And Walker's still in the top 5 at the end of the day. So, age 22, going into the second year, right there with Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, JT. I'm okay with that. I really am. So I'm not going to knock you there. Stevenson was a great value in the 5th round. Kamara Mixon gives you some veteran presence, holds some risk, but I think it's okay. Tucker and Damian Harris to finish things out. So ultimately, I think it's a pretty good team. Some notes on the quarterback position, but outside of that, I think that you had some pretty good value at other positions as well. All right, let's see. Michael, what we do? Herbie fully loaded, Wilson, Mac Jones. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. Freiermuth, Kadon. I'm okay with that too. I think that it's a good tight end room, a good quarterback room. Like we've talked about with some other teams, can always go for a third tight end, right? Big stretch at receiver between the 2nd and 6th round, including sniping Kirk from me, but that's okay. Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, JSN, Ridley, and Kirk. Osborne in the 14th, really good receiver room. I mean, Amon-Ra, Olave, and JSN alone was really, really nice. Getting those two young pieces. I mean, Ridley's a little bit older, right? Age 28. Going into his 6th season. And then Kirk, age 26, going into his 5th. If you wanted to diversify, and I'm not saying this because I love Christian Kirk and probably would have drafted him there. But, you could swap one of these players, right? Maybe Ridley for Watson or Ridley for J-Mo. Judy's kind of up in the air because Judy might get traded, but Judy, Pickens, DJ Moore, even a rook, or you got JSN, so I wouldn't go rookie there. But, maybe diversify there, go with a Christian Watson or Pickens, J-Mo, Judy, DJ Moore. But ultimately, really good stretch of receiver. I like KJ Osborne in the 14th as well. Did it go running back to the 8th round? Got Pacheco, still got Aaron Jones, Herbert, Jamal Williams, Miller, Pirine, and Gray. A good running back room, man. Yeah, I really like this team. Like, I'm not crazy about Wilson as my QB2 and Mac Jones my QB3, but they were still really good values in the 10th and 12th round, and ultimately a really good build tonight. So let me know what you thought, Michael. But I think you had a good little team there, man. All right, let me try and catch up. Zach, maybe I'm better drafting another wide receiver at 14.6 since I'm a youth build. Available guys, Jacoby, DPJ, Mooney, Dobbs, Mechie, or could get my third tight end with Chig and Conquo. It's a 1-point tight end premium. Yeah, and Conquo is definitely a player to consider there. It depends, I would say, on the other two tight ends you already have on your team. How high is your conviction in them? I'd have to know to give you my personal thoughts. But if you're going to go with one of the receivers, I'd probably go with Mooney or Mechie. Mooney coming off an injury and everything. Where did Mooney go tonight? I still really like Darnell Mooney. He went at 10.5. So going to his 4th season, age 25, tied to the hip of Justin Fields. I won't be surprised if he plays well this year, if he gets a contract extension, or if his 5th year option is exercised. So I like Mooney. But at the end of the day, right, look at age, look at, what potential situation they're in, how long are they tied to specific quarterback, specific offense, and where's your conviction at? Mechie just holds a lot of upside, but you're at 14.6, yeah, he probably won't fall out any further than that. Holds a ton of upside. Tons of upside. And like we talked about earlier, could be the wide receiver 1, even if he's not. If Bobby Trees is lining up, Nico Collins is lining up, even Noah Brown, who they signed, that opens things up for Mechie. So he's an upside pick, a lot of risk. I think Mooney's a safer pick. But like I said, depends on what other tight ends you have there. Chig is still a good pick there as well. He went at 12.10 in our draft. So if he's available at 14.6, based off what we did today, that's good value, right? All right, Emil, what do we do? Allen, Cousins, Garoppolo. I would get somebody in here who is young. That's my only note. I mean, obviously, Allen, age 26, still a little bit older. Cousins, 34. Garoppolo's 31. The Raiders could draft a quarterback this year or next year to sit behind Garoppolo. I've even heard buzz that the Vikings could draft a quarterback as well. Small buzz, that is. But, yeah, if you can get somebody else in here. I know Mac Jones went in the 12th. I mean, even at that point, I'm considering Ritter, Mayfield, Sam Howell, who went in the 11th. Even Malik Willis. Cousins being 34, he's going to play this season. You can put him in your super flex. You can start Josh Allen. You're good for this year. You can super flex Garoppolo as well. But down the stretch, you will be looking for another young quarterback, probably sooner rather than later, right? Kittle and Gesicki. I'm not a fan of Gesicki right now. I'm just not. Okay value in the 15th round. But I would have gone for McBride was already gone. I'm sorry. I would have gone for a Bellinger or Cade Otton, even a Ferguson over Gesicki, because I love Kittle. Don't get me wrong. He's a great pick. But he is age 29 going into his 7th season. And tight end premium, you're going to start Kittle no matter what, as long as he's healthy. You're going to want some young depth behind Kittle would be my only note there. Diggs, Godwin, Hopkins, Williams, Cook, Shep. Great receiver value throughout this draft. Once again, Emil, I would consider getting a second-year guy in here, getting a rookie receiver in here, getting 2 rookie receivers in here. We got a lot of veteran players. You're almost in a win now position. It's not a bad team, but you just want to get some sprinkles of youth in there so you're not, down the road ending up in a bad position. Christian McCaffrey, Monty, Robinson, Fournette, Carter, Mostert, James Robinson. Once again, a good running back room. You got Monty at age 25, Brian Robinson at age 23, C-Mac age 26, Carter age 23, Mostert is 30, James Robinson's 24, Fournette is 28. So you've got a pretty good blend there. At the running back position, I'm not going to panic if there's not a rookie, right? But it's just such a deep rookie running back class, especially once these guys are drafted to actual NFL teams and we know what positions they're in. You'll probably want to consider a rookie in there as well. So I would like to see a little bit more youth here. But if you're going to go win now, go win now. Ultimately, I still think it's a pretty good team. Jace Bize. We got Mahomes, Carr, Malik Willis, and Tannehill. You got someone for the Titans. As long as they don't draft a quarterback or something goes crazy and they trade for one, you've got a starter there, right? But ultimately, you're going to start Mahomes, which is beautiful at 1.3, and you're going to start Carr in the flex. Kelsey and Nkonkwo, I'm okay with that. Listen, I will draft Kelsey at the right value in Dynasty, and I will ride him until he retires. I have no problem with it. If you want Kelsey on your team, go for it. If you want to stack with Mahomes and Kelsey like you got for as long as you can potentially ride it out, I'm okay with it. ETN, Cook, White, and look at that. Zamir White making a comeback. So probably would have liked to see a rookie running back or two sprinkled in here. But ultimately a pretty good running. I mean, you still got Rashad White and ETN, right? Cook is a good value at 6.10. But yeah, I'd like to see at least one more running back, rookie running back, second-year guy, even if he's in a committee, just somewhere in here, right? Cooper Kupp, Debo, Tony, Dallas Booty, Sutton, Hutchinson's a nice pick there, and Jarrett. So, I like this receiver room. Probably the best on your team. I feel like that's where you have the most balance. You have some veterans, you have some youth, and you have some rookies. So, ultimately a good team. A couple notes there, but I think it's a good team, man. Let's see. Thomas already did your team. Justin did your team. Greg, how would you feel about Kyle Pitts at 4.5 compared to Hawkinson? I like Hawkinson a little bit more, but I don't think that Pitts is going to be available at 4.5. Listen, Hawkinson's older, 25, compared to 22. So the upside pick is Pitts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against drafting Kyle Pitts by any means in Dynasty tight end premium leagues. But I personally like Hawkinson a little bit more. I know it's not popular opinion, Greg, I only say 4.5 because I'm working on a 32-man Dynasty startup where Pitts is still on the board. Whew. In the 32-man league, I would pick Pitts. Yeah. Because you're going to need more youth than other leagues. So, yeah. 32-man, I'd pick Pitts right there. All right, we hit Michael's team. So it looks like we hit everyone's team who wanted a review. J-Dubs, how do you feel about your QB room? I'll trade Baker. Yeah, I'll trade you. I guess I'd probably trade you receivers where I have the most depth. There are a lot of good teams today. You guys asking who I like the most. I really like what J-Dubs was able to do. Not going QB to the 5th and still building a good squad. I really like Taylor's team tonight as well. I just felt like there was a lot of good value on that squad. I like what Michael was able to do as well. I really like Michael's team. I'm not crazy about the quarterbacks, but I still think it was a really good team. Bossman had a really good squad too. I don't think we went over this one, but Fields, Smith, and Purdy at quarterback, Pitts and McBride, Lamb, Judy, Moore, Dotson, Moore. Oh, we did go over this one. Moore, a couple more. That's right. And Rice, and then Jacobs, Algier, and Gainwell. I really like Bossman Fat's team. I really do. But a lot of good drafting from you guys today, man. What did I do? Burrow and Tua. That's it. I just flanked that. I kept waiting for quarterbacks to fall another round. I think I did this last draft too. And I really just need to shore up that third quarterback before somebody else does, I was hoping Goff or Pickett would fall to 6.9. It just wasn't a smart calculation. And then at that point, like, I had needs. I needed to get a tight end. I needed running back value. And that's what I had to go for, right? And then just, round by round, at the end of the day, just quarterbacks not coming to me. So kind of a mistake. If I'm going to draft a guy like Tua, who, I'll say this much, I think Tua was a great value at 5.4. But it's kind of similar to when I draft Kyler Murray. Like, you got to get that third quarterback at this point in time, with the uncertainty around the injury, just to shore things up. So a little bit of an issue at quarterback for me, but I still think it's really good value to get Tua, age 25, going to his fourth year, 5.4. So Goddard and Dolchich, Noah fan. I like this tight end room. Komet fell pretty far to 10.3. Would have loved to see Komet on this team, but if I took Komet when I was thinking about it, I'd miss out on another veteran receiver who I felt really good about, and Tyler Lockett at 9.4. But if I look back, I talked about going Mike Williams or Tyler Lockett here. Mike Williams fell out to 10.11. If I could have hit Mike Williams at 10.9, if I could have gone Komet at 9.4, there's a potential I could have got Mike Williams or Tyler Lockett at 10.9, and even Lockett or Mike Williams with both these picks. But I still like the way that this squad came out. Receivers are amazing. Like, I would be ecstatic about this receiver room going into next season. Wilson, Waddle, Devontae Adams, Quentin Johnston, Tyler Lockett, Alec Pierce, Zay Jones. Love the receiver room. Absolutely love it. Running backs, A.J. Dillon, Cook, Connor, Deuce Vaughn, and my boy Israel A. out of Pittsburgh. So, like, I like the running back room, but you guys just have to understand I'm not putting that much value on the running back position coming out of a startup mock draft. I'm not saying that running backs aren't important, but you're going to be able to trade and maneuver and use the waiver wire to pick up running backs throughout your seasons and then use rookie drafts in the future for the running back position, which is extremely inconsistent and just has a lot of cycles. Like, there's a ton of value in a top tier guy like Walker, Bijan, Hall, Barkley, JT, even Eckler and C-Mac, ETN, Jacobs, Harris. There's a ton of value in players like that. But I want to come out of my first startup with more depth at receiver, with quarterbacks I believe in, and as a tight end premium with tight ends I believe in as well. So I get that there's some issue at the running back position on this team, but ultimately I really like this team. Needed a third quarterback, don't get me wrong, but ultimately I still think it's a really good squad. I think we're overlooking pass catching running backs and full PPR with our RB fades. Just a thought. Yeah, I think I have a little bit of that on this team tonight, but it's a good point as well. I really like what you're able to do at running back today, J-Dubs, for sure. Fantasy Dog stopping in. Thank you so much. What's up, man? Appreciate you. Appreciate the kind words. Always good to have you stopping by the streams, my dude. What's up? What's up? Hope you're having a great Sunday. All right, so that's going to do it. That's your draft for you. There's your mock draft. I think you guys absolutely killed it today. I think we had a lot of good teams built overall. Thought you guys hit on a lot of good value. Made this a very competitive 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football Startup Mock Draft. So I'll let you guys know. We might run an off-air one tonight. I know Tommy was asking about potentially running one with longer picks. So I probably won't be able to do that till late tonight. So just let me know, man. I'll let you guys know. If you guys have enough interest, we'll get that put together later on. So that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for the day. So thank you guys so much for drafting with me. Thank you guys to everyone who hopped in, hung out, and talked fantasy football today. It was a great mock draft. Really appreciate you guys, man. So everyone be safe. Have a great end to your weekend. Have a great start to your Monday. And we'll probably get an off-air mock going later tonight as well. So just stay posted on Discord. So make sure you guys smash that like button on the way out. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Check out the links down below. Join our Discord for mock draft invites as well as the best updates on the channel. And follow us on Instagram. Also another way to get great updates for the channel. So that'll do it, guys. Love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Thank you guys so much for mock drafting. And I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know if you guys need anything. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it. here on The Catch.